Hello and welcome to another jungle video, and in this one we will be taking a good look at how you can 1v9, how you can carry with farming junglers in Season 10. Yes, ganking is all the baby rage right now and everyone's playing Elise and Lee Sin and just camping lanes, ignoring their farm. Wait, I made a video about that. I'm part of the problem, but that doesn't mean there aren't alternative ways to play. And yes, jungle experience is kind of a problem in that it is very low if you do not farm quickly. However, what about those junglers who can farm quickly? The Kanes, the Shyvanas, the Karthuses, the Nocturnes. And as always, we do need a good example to showcase these principles. And in this video, I have a very nice example that will show you all the reads and little decisions you need to make to ensure you come out on top as a farming jungler. But if you're looking to implement some of these strategies in your own games, consider using some of these champions of varying skill levels. Everyone knows Karthus and Nocturne, but you do have the Shyvana, which can work. Graves can do it very well also. Mercy, everyone knows. Even a Jackson, yes, even an Evelynn, and I will talk a little bit about that before we get into our games. But as always, if you do enjoy the video and would like more, please consider liking it and commenting below what your favorite farming jungler strategy is in Season 10. And so it's important to note that the first requirement of this strategy before we get into our games is that you can actually do a first full clear quite well, or at least 5 camps. The reason being is you definitely want control of one of those scuttle crabs. And I've been using this strategy with Evelynn as well as Ornn. The core idea is once you've decided what side of the map you want to start on, whether it's red or blue buff, you must pay attention which lanes are late to show, which lanes come back with mana reduced such that you know where the enemy started. Once you know that, you can ensure you do the full clear and you know when you're gonna meet up with them. For example, if you both started on the same side of the map, you don't want to meet them for a 1v1 at the top side scuttle. Sure as Evelynn you could try charm them, but Rengar just would cleanse it and obliterate you. I'm pretty sure it would be in a way that he enjoys it more than you do. So if nothing presents itself, you can simply do the full clear, go back to base, get your first buy, and then go take the opposite side scuttle. And from there you can transition back to doing a full clear. But it's never that straightforward. It's important to note when you might get invaded, and so at 1 minute, you can leave a ward on your buff or in the river such that if the enemy jungler decides, hey, I'm gonna counter jungle you, you don't end up being at the topside crab and wonder what you're gonna do for the next 2 minutes. And if they do invade, remember, go take their blue buff, go take their blue side, and yes, it's a bit of vertical jungling, but if you don't do that in Season 10, you're just gonna end up looking like fiddlesticks. So the general idea is, do a full clear, get level 4. Obtain 1 scuttle crab. Make sure you conduct a gank within that time frame if possible. If not, fall back and do a second full clear, look to gank, go back to base, and repeat the process. You are looking to gank after your full clears. However, you can easily rotate to situations and get better leads. Pay attention to lane states and when that might be possible. Yes, you are trying to maximize your experience and gold gains because you cannot afford to spam gank like a Lee Sin or an Elise, but because the general idea is to do a full clear, then look for a gank, when you are ganking typically, your camps won't even be on the map, so you won't be able to be counter jungled. But if you're in the middle of wolves, you don't say, well, you know, I really need to finish this grunt before I can come, Mr. Laner. Please, can you hold on? Just, oh, you died. That sucks. You know, you should have waited. I was there. I'm the jungler. See, that's a silver attitude. Rotate, helping them out, fall back to your grump afterwards. So now we've addressed, you know, getting a scuttle crab, identifying the enemy jungler starting location, reacting to action on the map, spacing your ganks and balancing it with your farm. There are 2 other things you must pay attention to: dragons and counter jungling. If your gank heavy enemy jungler decides, hey, I'm gonna go tower dive bottom lane, I'm spam ganking a lane because I like to be cheap meat, you just look at them and you say, you sit in your can, no problem, I'm gonna take your raptors, I'm gonna take your krugs. Whenever you see the enemy jungler ganking so much, do not let them get away with it for free. Take their farm as well as your farm. Essentially, that's the tax they pay on spam ganking. You want to be double their CS if possible, such that their lead, well wait, they don't have a lead, you're 2 levels up, and that's the kind of reaction you want to invoke from them. And secondly, this isn't really a farming jungler thing, it's just about your good pathing in the early game and making sure whenever the enemy jungler shows in a bad position, he goes back to base, and you have full HP and you're level 4, do the dragon. If your mid laner can come and help, do the dragon. If you can solo it knowing the enemy bot lane has gone back, or if you have prio and they can rotate, do the dragon. This sets you up for the Dragon Soul win condition, and as a farming jungler, your laners will be behind. This is a long-term investment. I see way too many low and mid MMR players doing the farming style and then blaming their laners for inting. What did you expect? The enemy jungler is ganking. Your idea is to have a power spike at 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes where they can't even deal with you and you end up carrying the game just because of your lead, because you were efficient, you took objectives, you ganked when you could, and so you're gonna come out on top. And the final note before we get into our actual gameplay here is that when you are a farming jungler, your ultimate will be quite a definitive part of your kit. It will be game changing, it will have implications on macros, Nocturne, Karthus, Rengar even, Evelynn, Camo with the ultimate. You want to make sure you're taking fights when that is up and not really when it isn't. Farm, ultimate's up, go fight. Okay, now that I've thrown you bullet points for 4 minutes about what you really should be doing. Now originally I was going to do 2 videos, one with Karthus and one with Nocturne, but I think I'm going to stick with just a Nocturne. The reason why is because the enemy jungler is Elise, and Elise is tilting a lot of us at the moment because she is very, very strong. And her ganking is just so irritating for laners and for junglers. You know it's going to happen, and yet she always gets away with it. So it's nice to see how a farming jungler approaches this when they're actually behind in the game and the enemy jungler has like 3 kills and 3 assists. And so the beginning of this game, as you can see, Nocturne, he's gonna go for that full clear, red, Krugs, Raptors into top side. The Elise does red, blue, Grump, which is the standard level 3 ganking path. And as you watch Nocturne farm it up like it's 10,000 BC and we've just discovered the activity, Elise goes down to dive on the bottom lane. She picks up an assist, she's cutting off the wave, they dive the Senna. And then while she's actually going to hang around a little bit longer to kill the ADC once she returns to the lane, what is the Nocturne doing? He knows she's bottom lane, and what do we say we must do in this situation? Go and take a Raptor camp. There is literally nothing better in the universe as a jungler when you hard camp a lane and get 3 kills early. You go back to base and spend all your gold, and then when you get back to your jungle, you realize it's all untouched, it's juicy fresh, and it's just for you. The enemy jungler has wasted this time and not punished you for impacting lanes. So as the Elise did that, the Nocturne took the Raptors. Now he also gets control of the top side scuttle, whereas Elise gets control of the bottom side scuttle. Perfect start for a farming jungler, 6 camps and 1 scuttle. But, don't go back to base just yet. Nocturne knows the Elise was bottom side, he knows she's going to take the crab, he knows his mid lane is pushing up, he's going to bait in for the counter gank. Kiana goes in, Elise goes in, and both junglers end up grabbing a kill. So while a 1-for-1 isn't exactly the best, it's great for the Nocturne because after shoving the wave and coming back to base, he's going to be level 5. Now normally in this situation, I would actually think about sneaking a dragon, but you are on the blue side and the red side has prior on the dragon pit. Also, you know the Elise will try and go down and get 2nd tier Grump spawn and perhaps try and gank on the bottom lane. So sneaking the dragon might not be in the cards anyway. As he's on the Krugs, he rotates to a fight with his bottom lane, and remember, because of the Elise's ganks on the bottom side, his ADC and support are really far behind. They will be pushed, they will be engaged on, they will be caught out. And it's good to rotate to those fights and use your lead to pick up kills. However, you must take note of enemy roams and enemy vision, and Kiana shows up, Elise shows up, you die, you give up the dragon. So Nocturne kind of made the right decision. I just don't think he was really paying attention to the macro state. Sometimes you dying here isn't necessarily the best thing, because you got 1 kill, you could have got that same gold from doing your full clear again, you could have had even a larger experience lead, maybe you could have contested the dragon. Of course, it's really easy to think about what you could have done once you've already done something, but nonetheless it's important to reflect on when you are playing these kind of games. Although trying to get a bunch of League players to a yoga group in order to reflect might be the most difficult thing in the universe. However, this actually sets him up for something very interesting that I want to talk to you all about. The term I coined camp sequencing, and I used it in a lot of my videos, is the order in which you go ahead and take your camps. Now his original goal was to do Krugs, Raptors, Wolves, Grump, maybe gank on the top lane, maybe gank on the mid lane, maybe use his ultimate in that gank because he would be level 6, go back to base and then be back in time for his red. However, because he died, he doesn't want to go to his Raptors into his Grump because that would put him on the other side of the map to where his next objective is, which is that red buff. As such, he heads to the Grump, down to the Wolves, down to the Raptors, he gets level 6, his red's going to be up, the bottom side scuttle has spawned, he clears some vision, Elise and Kiana engage on the Aurelian Soul, and Nocturne says, "Hello, I have my ultimate before you." He pulls a curtain of life down on Kiana and Elise, and he picks himself up 2 more kills. And all we can do is give him a nice round of applause because that was very well done. And this is why this particular protocol can be so useful for things like Rengar and Evelynn as well, because even if you don't do your first full clear as well as the Karthus, Ornns, yes that's right, Ornn, who is faster than Nocturne by the way, you can still, once you ramp up with your items, start sequencing your camps very quickly, get that early level 6, and then use it to dominate the map, because with Rengar and Evelynn, especially Kayn also, you want form, you want that ultimate, and if you don't have it, you really aren't as scary to the enemy team. Now during this time, you see Elise has been doing camps, he heads to the bottom lane again, picks up another kill, the Nocturne had done his red and Krugs, gone back to base, and now he's doing his blue. As soon as he sees the Elise gank on the bottom side to pick up a 4th kill, straight to the Rift Herald. Rift Herald just got buffed again. It was buffed during the preseason also. This is a very valuable objective for farming junglers, any jungler actually, but the fact that you can really easily take it while the enemy jungler is ganking means you can probably get 2 in a game. And when you can get 2 in a game, you can use 1 just to smack a whole bunch of tower plates, and you can use the other to make sure you're taking crucial towers during mid-game macro decision. And to that note, once he's done with the Rift Herald, into Grump, into Wolves, And yes, Elise shows on the center ultimate on the map, but he had already made his way towards the mid lane. He wants to use a herald for the plates, and his ultimate is up, which means it's time to go ganking. It is a very greedy play by the Elise, and because Senna's lane is so far behind due to the Elise's ganking, it makes sense that the Senna actually roams and looks to make impact somewhere else. Now because they just killed the Elise, they activate the herald, they get the mid lane tower, they get a nice charge on the second tower as well, and then they begin to fall back. Now how many games have you been in, no matter what your elo, that you think you're doing an amazing job ganking and all of a sudden the enemy jungler is up 2 levels, he got the herald and they smack down 2 mid lane towers. And you just feel the air deflate out of you like, wow, I had control of this game, what happened? And that's because they're doing this strategy, and that's the impact you're looking for as a farming jungler. And you can feel that desperation from the Elise. She is already chasing the Senna now after respawning. Yeah, she gets her, but then the Aurelion Soul kills her again. More time off the map. As a ganking jungler, you really don't want to be off the map that much. And because of that, the Nocturne says, well, thank you very much for your Raptors, thank you very much for your Krugs. Yes, the dragon is spawning, but it's not really in a position where they can sort of contest it or roam on down and make it too obvious. And also the enemy Lucian is such a lead, I think he could carry that fight, so they give it up, because it's not so bad once you lose the first one to give away the second dragon, because that now means you can stack whatever the fourth drake will be. And if you're a Nocturne and that happens to be a cloud drake, then you're gonna be quite happy about it. A lot of these farming junglers would love to stack 4 cloud dragons. They do also like the fire soul. The dragon soul is really nice if you're a Rengar or Nocturne because you have that shield as you engage. But I digress. He goes back to base, takes his Raptors, takes his Krugs. So now you've seen the pretty much straightforward sequencing. When the ultimate is up, you look to make a play. When the enemy jungler is ganking and fiddling around with the laners, you take a dragon if it's top side, you take a herald if it's bottom side. But what do you do now? What do you do after you've made those plays? So there is a couple of things I want you to keep in mind as a farming jungler as you navigate this crucial mid-game phase before you reach the late game, where it's just sort of team fighting and objectives, and everyone else is taking your camps anyway. First thing is here, make sure you're still sequencing your camps. Farming time isn't quite yet over. The enemy is going to start to rotate to take some towers. The bottom lane will go to the top lane. The enemy jungler will be 2 levels down on you if you've done everything correctly. Don't start acting too rash. Much like Sidious tells Maul, let them make the first move. Let them show their hand first, like this Elise does alter killer. Now you can hold the top lane. However, it's okay to give up this tower. There is a herald on the map, and if you die, if you throw away a couple of kills, not only do you feed them more, and let me remind you that's a Vladimir on the enemy team, you also give them herald, which lets them nullify any leads you have by shoving down a tower by brute force. So carry on sequencing your camps, but as you farm them faster and faster, the time between them respawning will increase and give you more time to hold towers and make plays. However, as such, you know you gave up 2 dragons, and in the case you didn't give up 2 dragons, perhaps you have 2 yourself, what matters no matter what is that 3rd dragon is a must secure for your team. And the best way to go about this is, as it's about to spawn, make sure you are freshly bored, you're in place, your ultimate is up, you have vision control, and as soon as a fight erupts, make the right play, focus the right targets, and take them out. Do not be caught, do not throw it away, and yes, I'm aware that sometimes your laners will be absolute trolls and won't understand anything that you're doing and throw it away, but you can only really control yourself, and if you're a master, you don't really mind if they get caught up, because that means all the CC is blown and you can just go get a free penta. Now once that's happened, yes, your team might try and skirmish away and keep trying to fight and pushing them up. Focus the dragon, go take it, you don't need help, make sure you are securing that at all costs. But not the cost where you die and give a Baron, so use your brain just a little bit. Which I know is a stretch for some of us, but we can do it, I believe. Thirdly, because of your lead and how quickly you can shove lanes, when there are out of towers left, yes, you can be the one to split push. Especially if you are a champion that has something in their kit that allows them to rotate quickly, whether it's movement speed or a nice ultimate like Nocturne. Just remember, with this playstyle, you're ignoring lanes early so that you can be the carry. So if you go top lane and they get caught out, you can make things quite difficult. So make sure you're timing your split push appropriately. I'm not going to break it down for you right now. We've done split pushing on the channel before. Just keep it in mind when you should split push and when you should not. And the final thing we must talk about, make sure you are with your team with your ultimate whenever they are grouping looking to get an objective. Do not be the addict who says, guys, push up, there's 4, I just need 1 more tasty grump and then I'm ready, and then I'll be ready, I promise, I'll stop farming. No, you need to cut yourself up from that grump intoxication, be with your team, use your ultimate, make a game-changing fight, secure the Baron, and win the game. Alright, you have a summary with the timestamps on your thing now. If you need to go back and revisit a topic, I hope this enlightened you to a different style of jungling. Yes, it is kind of weird because if you can't spam gank, you can't jungle that style. And if you can't farm quickly, you can't jungle this style. So I do think there's definitely room for Riot to, increase the quality of life in the jungle, but for now, this is what we have, and at least we have something other than spam gank or die. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you were able to enjoy and learn something. Please do like, share, and comment if you did. Always like to get around 1,000 likes per video. It makes me know what you like to watch and also makes me not feel like Shrek. Please subscribe for more jungle videos coming very soon, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.